Alright, one thing I didn't show you guys in my unboxing here is they give you this ESC manual, and this is really nice. And then here's the manual for actually building it. You know, I don't know if this is any different than any of the other Airfield planes I've ever had, which is 3 out of 4. No, 4 out of 5 right now, because I only have one plane that's not Airfield, and it's Dynam. Yep, looks like the classic Airfield instruction sheet. Here, I'll put this on the floor here. It shows you all the parts, which is good. One thing that, you know, it's just terrible. First of all, don't do this first. This says apply glue on the combined side of the elevators. No, do not do that. The first thing you want to do is you want to check your controls, which I did, but the first thing you want to do as far as assembling it is you want to get all your control horns on there. Because once you get this thing all put together, it's going to be harder to put those control horns on there. Do that first. See, I've already got it done on the wings. Okay. You want to put those on there, and they're nice and blue. I thought they were black when I first pulled them out, but they're blue, and that's good because it blends in with the paint really well. And anyway, you want to put those on first so that it's easier. I didn't do that on my P47, and I ended up poking a hole straight through my elevator right about there because my screwdriver slipped because I was trying to maneuver around the rudder and everything else. Just don't glue your parts together first. First thing you want to do, put all your control horns on. That'll make your life so much easier. These, basically trash. Don't even... You can look at them for reference on where pieces go if you don't know. But as far as the order of when you do the things, it'll be out of order. It'll be very vague on what it tells you to do. And, I mean, the next step is install the elevator. Well, and yeah, it shows pictures and all, but it doesn't really tell you what you're doing. You're installing the elevator, but if somebody doesn't know, they're not going to have a clue what they're doing. And Airfield, if there's one complaint I have about them, it's their manuals. Everything else is good. Electronics are good. The planes are great. Everything else is good. But their instructions are really bad. One thing that they do that's nice, though, that you want to keep your manual for is it tells you which screws you use. Like, they'll be labeled on the bags usually, not always, but this tells you which screws you use for the wings, so it'll usually do that. And if it doesn't, then they came in the bag with the control horn or whatever that you're using, and so that's how you know. But oh, also CG, I'm pretty sure this is going to be wrong. It has been on pretty much all of my Airfield planes, except the Cessna. The Cessna was right on. So this one, I've heard where you want to balance it is basically just, you see these panel lines? And this is the front of the wing right here, and the back's down here. This one is where they want you to put it. That's 50 millimeters. You want to put it just in front of this other panel line. Sorry, my shadow's getting in the way. But just in front of that panel line is where you want your CG. And I would probably measure or test my CG right on this crest on the wings, where the gull wing is. That's where I'd probably do it. But just in front of that is where I've heard you want it. And if that's too nose heavy, so be it. You can move it back later. But if you start off and it's clear back here and it's tail heavy, you're basically doing a one flight. Doing one horrendous, not very fun flight on your new plane. And that's not what you want. And that's not what I want for you guys. I want you guys to have a lot of fun with your planes. So make sure you double check. Go on RC group forums. They'll be pretty good about telling you. RC Discuss. Even in some of the videos on Nitro planes, they'll tell you where it should be. I know personally, I've had one of the videos on Nitro planes, not on my 1400mm P47. It didn't say the right CG, and Tony was like, oh yeah, the CG from the manual is just fine. No. I flew on that CG, and I gotta tell you guys, I'm one lucky son of a gun for getting that thing down in one piece, because the most tail-heavy thing you would ever fly, and it's just a horrific experience, and you don't ever want to do that. It's one of the least fun things I've ever done in RC, is fly a tail-heavy airplane. But that's pretty much it. I'll show you guys some pointers. If I have anything that I run into that's not very easy to do, I'll show you how to do it. One thing, Airfield does a really good job on putting a lot of paint on there, and their paint's really good. But, well, actually, you don't want to glue here, because this is where your rudder's going to swing. You don't want to glue that. But on the bottom side here, you're going to want to glue right here. That's it. But first, what I'd suggest is either find a way to get this paint off, because it won't stick to the paint very well. And even if your glue does stick to the paint, that paint will peel right off in a crash or in a high G turn or anything like that. It'll just peel right off, and you'll be flying without an elevator. And you don't want to do that, obviously. I did find a little bit of damage there, but that kind of stuff doesn't really bother me. Just little tiny bits of damage. If it's something major, like if my wing was all warped, then I'd be pissed. But right now, this thing looks like it's in pretty good shape. Looks like it'll be perfect for flying. Everything, I checked everything out. My controls already worked. And yeah, so I'll tell you guys if I run into anything. If not, I'll tell you guys what I did when I get done building it. Alright guys, well I said if I ran into any issues, I would tell you guys. It's pretty hard to tell, but you can see there's a little bit of a gap there. That's because my rudder's not straight, and I got this on, and I've screwed that in as far as it will go. If you guys have that happen, here's your elevator stuff, or your rudder. Wait, your rudder's over here actually. So I'm doing this wrong. But the same concept applies. Take this little screw here. It's a Phillips head, and the camera will not focus. Anyway, there's a screw there, and if you loosen it, this should be able to move back into center. And then once you get it centered, tighten it back up. Should be a pretty quick fix to that issue. So that's the first issue I ran into. Oh, one thing I did want to mention though, this isn't an issue, it's just something that a lot of people do wrong. When you're putting these on and you're screwing these in, don't over tighten them. You don't want to squish that foam down. You want it to just basically, just till you feel it's snug. Once you feel it's snug down and it's not going anywhere, then you're good. It's foam, guys. You're gonna overpower the foam if you keep screwing it in. And the harder you press, the more chance there is you're gonna slip out of that screw and go right through that hinge on your rudder or your elevator or your aileron or whatever control surface you're working on. So that's just another quick tip there. Alright, it's going to be really tough for you guys to see that, but okay, that's the wing screw. The bag is not labeled, at least it wasn't with my plane. But these long screws, the longest screws they give you, those are for the wings to screw in. Right there. Another thing that really, if nitro planes did their job, and the furnace is coming on, okay, so I'll have to talk over that. Anyway, one thing nitro planes does wrong a lot, you'll see it in their videos if you look closely, they put their landing gear on backwards. And what I mean by that is, this wheel and this rod here, it could technically go on this wing, but it shouldn't, okay? There is a right and a left wheel, and you can get it wrong. It'll let you get it wrong. It's not foolproof. But one rule that you can use is you just take this knob and make sure it points to the outside of the wing. And that is freaking loud. Would you shut up, you stupid furnace? Alright, got my anger out. Anyway, that's what you get. See, yeah, it just came on. You can see fire in there. That's what's making all the noise. But anyway, yeah, just make sure these are pointed outward. And you should be alright there. And if you're not going to fly with the landing gear, I'd be willing to bet that it probably flies better without the landing gear. But I have a nice runway, and I like to land on a runway. And so I practice my landings with these little planes here. I've done pretty good with my P-47 except for the bleacher incident. And it's in good shape. I did notice a little bit of damage on its wing from my tumble when I had my battery run out, but anyway, yeah, so it's going together real nice. Like I said, I haven't glued this on yet, but I've got these in, and just to prove to you that it will go on there with those in there, I'll show you. So what you're going to need to do is kind of angle it as you go in. and you should be able to, it might be a little tougher, but you should be able to get it in there. And it's really tough when I'm doing it one-handed, to be honest. There we go. You just gotta kind of angle it in there, avoid the control horns hitting the foam, and just slide it in the rest of the way, and you should be able to get it in there. Like I said, I'm gonna take that layer of paint off before I go gluing, because you don't want that glue to peel off in mid-flight. Obviously, that would be a bad thing. So, this right here, you could take packing tape. This is a pretty small piece. What I may end up doing is I may just kind of work at it with a screwdriver, alright, and just kind of scrape at it so it comes loose. See, you can see that I poked a little hole in that foam. You can see a little bit of a white speck there, but I'll probably use this one. That brings me to another thing. There have been quite a few issues with this build, actually, but they're such small issues that they're not even issues, okay? The screwdriver that they're supposed to give you, mine did not come with a screwdriver. All of my other Airfield planes have come with the same screwdriver, so I would assume if you get a screwdriver, they'll probably be like, I have one in here somewhere. You know, I'll just walk out to the other room and I'll show you. Unless I don't have it out here either. Ah, yes, here it is. They'll give you a screwdriver. It's like this. It's Phillips end. But I have issues with these. Personally, on this plane in particular, this screwdriver did not fit the screws for the control horns. I didn't test it on the wings because I just got stuck using this one. Because I have a little screwdriver kit and it tends to work pretty well. And so I use this little teeny tiny flathead screwdriver. And worked fairly nicely. Oh, now you're going to shut off when I'm about to be done talking. But yeah, I'll probably use this and scrape along there until I get it kind of roughed up. And another thing that sometimes you can do, on these littler planes it may not be the best idea to poke real deep holes. But if you just kind of take it and woodpecker it, just poke it full of holes. That way when you put either your epoxy or the supplied rubber cement, which I may end up using, this stuff. Now watch, my screwdriver will probably be in here or something. The only thing I didn't check. Yeah, this is the Airfield glue, and it's got that little point on the tip there. You unscrew this, you take this, and you poke a hole in there and open it up, and then it's basically just rubber cement. And you know, Airfield glue has been pretty good. I actually used it to fix my landing gear when my battery ran out on my little P-47, and I crashed. Well, I mean, I sort of crashed. It was a controlled crash, and it wasn't my fault. But yeah, this stuff's usually pretty good. So you could probably use that. One thing you might do is if you got, like, here's your box. If you want to, you can use like a test piece, and you can glue them at the same time. And then that way, when you get your test piece to the point where you can pull it and it won't come apart, then you know it's done. But a good idea with this type of glue, let it set for 24 hours. The glue that I use most times, I might actually use that Airfield glue this time, but the glue that I use most times, see here's how it is, and it'll break the foam before it'll break. See, look, it just tore through that foam. But this stick in here hasn't even moved. I was honestly trying to get it off so I could stir later if I use my epoxy. But I use this. It's Loctite epoxy. It's just 5-minute epoxy. It tends to work very good. Like it says on the tube, it's translucent yellow. You can't hardly tell when it's there. One thing you want when you use this stuff though, have a paper towel or something, or a napkin or something on hand so you can wipe out the little glue that squishes out through the cracks. But that stuff's pretty good. I may end up using it, although I just broke my stirring bowl trying to get the stirring rod out. That's how I test it. With this stuff, it's not going anywhere. It may say on the package here how many PSI it is, or how much PSI it can handle of pressure before the bond breaks. It's quite a bit though. I think it was somewhere around 2,500. And if you ever have 2,500 pounds per square inch on any piece on your foam, I guarantee you your foam will break first. So, geez, that really did, that's nice. So I guess I'm okay with whatever I glued with this stuff. It ought to be in good shape, I guess. Dang, can't believe I glued that tight. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Pretty much it. Subscribe. Keyword, subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. You, I'm pointed at you. Subscribe. Because then, you know, I really have no reason. Just do it. Just subscribe. It's a good idea. It's just a little yellow button on my channel. Click it. It helps me.